Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the February 13th, 2019 meeting of the East Long Meadow Conservation Commission. As per Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20E, we need to ask if anybody else is making a video or audio recording of the meeting.
Did you hear?
Hearing none, we will move on with the agenda. Call of the roll. Yes, Bob Sheet here.
Bob Sheets.
Tony Zampacini.
William Armet.
Craig Jernstrom.
Jeff Bosworth.
Mary Ellen Goodrow.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We have some amendments to the January 9th minutes to go over. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order and proceed with item number 1, old business.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The old business is ratification of the wetlands enforcement order for 53 Tanglewood. A bunch of us have signed it. I think Will and Bob need to. And then we should be all set with that. A couple of us have gone out and looked at that. Nothing else has been done there. But what they did comply with the first, I'm gonna call it a milestone in the project, where I sent the email out to everybody, and they have hired the
Saw
wetlands
that,
consultant. That was required by the meeting tonight.
Yep.
The next milestone was for the delineation by our March meeting, but there was a letter that was sent out by the wetlands consultant that they might not be able to meet that because of the winter conditions. We anticipated that that might not happen, so we'll play it by ear for the next month and see how that goes. The next item on our agenda is case number 2019-02, a notice of intent for Maple Street. If Jeff, you could read the file.
East Long Meadow Conservation Commission public hearing in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The East Long Meadow Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on February 13th, 2019 at 6 p.m. in the East Long Meadow High School Conference or Committee Conference Room, back entrance of Nord End Street at East Long Meadow High School, 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. To consider the following: case number NOI 2019-02, notice of intent 295 and 299 Maple Street, assessors parcels 6-11-0 and 6-10-0, filed by Michael Carabetta of 202 Allen Street in East Long Meadow, Mass. for a residential subdivision project within a buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland prepared by Robert Levesque, R. Levesque and Associates Incorporated, 40 School Street, Westfield, Mass. 01085. Additional information relating to this request is on file with the commission and available to the public for review. For the commission, Craig Jernstrom.
Thank you. The applicant, please come forward. Evening, Michael.
Good evening.
Hi, Mike.
Hello. All right, so you guys all have the plan?
Yep.
Yes.
So what we're looking to do is we actually, I bought the house next door and we're looking to push the road over towards that property. So we are encroaching in that wetland area. So that's the reason that's generating a notice of intent. I was told my engineer would be here, he might be running a little bit behind. So, I mean, we did the site visit on Saturday, so I think you guys had an idea to see what we're trying to do. So the limited work line would encroach into that 100-foot buffer to incorporate the new road.
Yes, we did conduct a site visit last Saturday, February 9th. With the acquisition of the adjacent property, which is 299 Maple Street, essentially what we're doing is the road is going to go in approximately the same location as the gravel driveway for 299 Maple Street, and then extended towards what's called 295 Maple Street in the filing. At this time, I would like to open it up to the public for comments on this. Please state your name and address for the record. And I would like to take just a second to remind everybody that Right now, we are just addressing the impact on the wetlands and issues involving the wetlands. Traffic flow, lighting, sidewalks, and that type of thing are not our purview. That is something for the planning board and the DPW. We're just addressing issues pertaining to the wetlands and resource areas. Are there any comments from the public?
I have a question. My name is Sean McGrady. I'm at 29 Lassard Circle in East Long Meadow. Just kind of observing the area. I thought that perhaps the original gravel driveway of the property at, was it 299? Looks like it might be within the buffer area also. So is the proposal to just replace what's currently in the buffer with a paved road, or is that gravel road outside of the buffer?
We did some research on it. The gravel road is definitely inside the buffer zone. The house was purchased in 2002. Jeff did some more for me, checking it. It did not appear, we're going to continue to do some more research, but it did not appear that there was a filing done back in 2002, and there definitely should have been
I think there was a filing done when the house was built.
when the house was
When
built.
that was done, I want to say late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
Because I did speak with the previous owner, and he said he did have a delineation done and, you know, requisite conservation work done. When those dates are, I don't exactly know.
Okay, thank you. Regardless, in my opinion, the way it would appear to me that there is really no stormwater management system now. And I would classify the gravel driveway as a semi-pervious surface. There is no curbing on it. So when the snow plowing is done and that sort of thing, there is some silt infiltration, I would say, into the wetland. But in my opinion, I believe with the addition, by putting a road in where the driveway is with curbs on it and a stormwater management system that is proposed for this, that was not required for a single house, the impact on the wetland would be less, much less than it is currently. Other questions from the public?
My name is Frank Rochella, the 49 West Urala. When did they put the driveway with it? The guy, if you're not supposed to put any gravel, he did 4 or 5 years ago. He filled up all the wetland. Anyway, he got up at 100 feet. You know, I don't want to say too much. He got up at 100 feet for the building, for the street, for the wetland.
I'm
No,
sorry?
the wetland, you know, where's the wetland, all right? To put the road, you're gonna put it next to the wetland?
The road,
Yes.
the
That's what he got
wetland
next
is
to
on the
driveway.
Long Meadow side of the existing driveway.
Yes.
Where the existing driveway is pretty close to where the proposed driveway is going to be.
Yeah, man, you're never gonna have it 100 feet, because somebody, maybe, you know, somebody else will be, I complained before, they say they got a 101.5 foot from where they're gonna build. And they never got out of that one, that footage over there. You know, because after it's done, you know, because that's not right. You know, that's not, for somebody can say this, somebody say that. I do this and do that. I don't think it's fair. Because as I tell you, somebody else can tell you, over there, nobody can build it. They said before. I'm there for 38 years in the house. And the old people that used to own it say nobody can build because you got a wetland, you don't got the street, you know, because they give, you know, just for the wetland, because the rest, you know, they can go, they give it to them, whatever, you know, that's not right. That's not,
And I
That's
believe
okay.
this came up before with the hearing that we had about 6 months ago
Yes.
when the request for
Yes.
determination
One
happened.
under 1.5 foot.
Yeah.
We're gonna measure after it's done. That's what I can tell you.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't know what, I don't know, you know, yeah, that's wrong, somebody gotta pay for it.
Yeah, Wherever the comments came from that nobody can build on there, it's just plain incorrect.
Now
because
they change, they say, you can never put asphalt close to the wetland, because of the gravel, you know. He put the gravel, the gentleman, you know, he loves the house, he bought it, you know, he filled it up with gravel, you know, maybe 3-4 years ago. You're not supposed to do that, but he did, you know, right now, you know, so they, whatever they can do, they do it. But the wetland, they got the flag, you measure from there, you go, where you gonna, see where you gonna go.
Yeah.
That's what, see, the law, it's for everyone to the same, somebody else, it's supposed to be the same for everyone.
Yeah, if the driveway was done and there was work done there 3-4 years ago.
Yes.
And there was a previous
No,
filing.
he wasn't there, no, he wasn't there, but it was no gravel, no nothing.
Okay.
He was a landscape, he filled it up, all the gravel, that's
Mhm.
what he did.
Yep.
You're not supposed to do that, but he did, now, they,
Yep.
it's not right.
Yeah. I was on the board, I've been on the board for over 9 years now, and I do not recall anybody reporting a violation
No.
of work done near the
Nobody
wetland
complained. No, nobody
regarding the driveway. And
Nobody
it's something, reporting of violations, it's something we, rely heavily on the public to let us know about if they're seeing it.
Yeah, but it's there, now
So
it's
just
there.
moving forward, we're going to do the best we can to protect the wetland through the order of conditions that
So
we
you
set
can
for the
protect the
project.
wetland, do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah.
What I can say.
That's our task, and
Yes.
rest assured, we will do
All right.
everything we
That's what
can to
I
protect the
don't wanna- I
wetland.
don't want it to treat me different. By law, whatever you gotta do it, you gotta do it.
Mhm.
That's all we're asking.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I have something to add to that. I'm David Delvecchio, I live at 26 Lassard Circle, I directly abut the rear of this whole section. It's been, well, basically looks like a tornado came through it almost for a year now that we've been looking at. I want to know if there was ever any complaints made about the first people that came in to extract all the brush and clear the lot, that decided to pour about 30 gallons of diesel fuel on the big pile and light it on fire, and the fire department had to respond, almost caught the dentist's office on fire, almost caught my shed on fire, and then they stopped, and then a whole new bunch of guys came in, plucked a tree here, plucked a tree there, and it just kept going on with, I don't know with these contractors who they were, but what's been done to remediate the diesel that's soaked into the ground from where they tried to ignite the brush, which is illegal to do when you're clear cutting. No, nothing from the fire, you can't, no way you can get a report from the fire, but I mean, I watched them do it,
Yeah.
so, the fire department came, they had to use foam because it was diesel and they couldn't put it out with water, and there was no water source available for them to put the fire out in the first place. I don't know,
I apologize.
If it's near wetlands, I don't understand how they can allow the diesel
buffer
runoff
zone.
to do that.
Yeah.
If you get a gallon of
It's a
diesel
buffer
fuel that
zone.
spills into a storm drain,
Mhm.
it's the biggest thing that's happened since the last atomic bomb went off. Now here this guy goes out and just hoses it down with diesel fuel and lights it up on fire, and there's a 50-foot pyre of fire going up there. And that's just, I mean, we've sat there, lived there for 25 years, and I'm looking out my window from my family room, and it looks like, it basically looks like where the tornado went through, right through Wilbraham and everything, all just, and there it is, it's been sitting there for almost a year now. Now, I know Mr. Carabetta's had hurdles he's had to go over, but I also question who he has doing this work for him. I don't understand how long they clear cut that whole corner where they're putting the medical offices there in 1/10 the time that it's taken him to halfway clear cut. I mean, there's tree stumps that are still this high.
We're not here to judge the length it takes for someone to do something. We're getting way too far off base here.
Well, I'm not judging how long
I
it's
know, but we're getting
taken,
too
but
far
I'm
off
just
base. We're
wondering if
here
there's been
for
any
about the
remediation
driveway and
done
about the
by
roadway.
diesel spill.
We're too far off
Hang on.
base right now.
Yeah.
Well, the diesel spill, you're the conservation
I
committee.
apologize for the fact that I was not aware of this issue with the fire and the fire department being
Really?
out there.
'Cause they wrote 'em a
I
bunch of
wish
slips.
I wish the fire department let us know about it.
Well, you might wanna ask
Were there
them,
any
'cause they
other
wrote 'em a bunch of
commissioners that were
slips.
aware of this
I
fire?
didn't hear anything about any of
Yeah.
that fire.
I'm
Yeah,
sure he knows.
Yeah, if I may, I don't think it's quite as extravagant as he made it out to be, but the fire department was there, they do put out a small fire. There were no complaints, everything's
6
been
hours.
resolved through the fire department. So I met with the fire department, there were no issues.
Yeah, I would assume if the fire department had an issue with it and with the diesel fuel, I wish they would have informed us about it, however, they didn't.
They were on site for
Pertaining to the
almost
work
6 hours.
that looks like a tornado going through there, it's privately held property
I understand.
and permissible work.
Totally understandable, I just don't understand the snail's pace that it's, we would have expected homes to be started to be building there by now. So at least we're not looking at the new construction that's going up over at the other place.
Okay.
I mean, it's ruined, it's just destroyed our home value.
Yeah, well,
Unfortunately, the speed is not anything to do with our purview.
For your information, we're doing a notice of intent here, which is the request to do the subdivision as it pertains to the Conservation Commission. Upon our issuance of a notice of intent and order of conditions, the applicant has 3 years to complete the project. And that is the legal parameters set forth. And the applicant is also allowed to ask for an extension if it's not completed in that period of time.
Well, just as saying that you're the conservation committee, you may want to do some soil samples
Yeah.
and find out if there's any contamination from the diesel or residue
Okay,
that
thank
could be
you.
leaching into this wetland that you're talking about.
Through the chair.
I'm sure the fire department
We have
has a
another
report.
question.
Yeah, we will, Bethany, if you could just make a note, if we could send a communication to the fire department requesting their opinion and information on the incident. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Joe Locopo. I just wanted clarification on the building code in regards to how it applies to wetlands. Am I correct that it has to be 100 feet from any wetland?
From the edge of the wetland, what applies and what the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over is what is called the 100-foot buffer zone. If it was a river, it would be a 200-foot buffer zone, but this is a standing wetland. It's an isolated wetland, actually. So the law says we have jurisdiction over 100 feet away from that. And we regulate the activity within that.
Okay, and you're saying that this new project that's coming in is outside of that 100 feet buffer zone, is that correct?
No. There are portions of the project that are inside the 100-foot buffer zone. For the existing gravel driveway is in the 100-foot buffer zone. The buffer zone actually comes across the paved road for a varying distance depending on where on the road you're measuring it from.
And that's allowed, given the rules and regulations of the Commonwealth or of the town?
Yes. We make a determination in how far into the buffer zone we allow people to go. In my 9 years on the commission, we have never said you cannot go inside the 100-foot buffer zone. What is common for us is we allow 50-foot to 25-foot buffer zones depending on the site circumstances. But typically, that's where we set the regulation, somewhere between 25 and a 50-foot buffer zone.
And you already vetted this project and you feel comfortable with what he's doing?
We have not. That's the purpose of the hearing tonight, to vet the project. There was a request for determination that was done prior to the acquisition of the 299 property. With just the 295 Maple Street shown on there, there was, I'm gonna say it was a relatively minimal intrusion into the buffer zone. Without the 299 property, I forget exactly, but it was only 5 to 10 feet wide by maybe 30 feet long,
Was not much.
Yep.
something like that.
I
That's,
wouldn't cut any trees in that area anyways,
yeah.
so.
So yes, the purpose of the hearing tonight is to discuss the rest of it and its impacts on the wetland.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments from the public?
I have just a follow-up, and I think it kind of goes off of what the gentleman behind me had mentioned before, kind of alluding to that, because there was perhaps a violation by the previous owners to go over the buffer zone without getting any types of approval. It seems like at this point, the remedy for that is to just kind of go over the previous violation with the real road and try to make it, drain the water out a little bit easier and try to avoid the wetland. Is there any responsibility for whoever is acquiring the 299 property to remedy any of the previously damaged portions of the wetland upon completing the project? Because I was unaware that that property had been acquired already.
It
Last
was.
I had checked, it looked like it was still bank-owned. I hadn't seen another transaction.
It's been bought by an independent investor, and I'm be purchasing it from him.
Okay.
That's Ruby.
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that on the name. That house will remain?
I'm sorry?
That house will remain?
Yes, it will. So if I may, to answer that question. So yeah, when I put the new road in, that will remedy everything and anything that's been done in the past, because I have to. I have to bring it up to their standards. So what's been done in the past, I have no control over. Unfortunately for me, I have to control it now. So whatever they recommend or institute, I have to follow.
As we are being made aware of this right now, it is an issue that we need to look at. If there was a previous enforcement order because of a reported violation, new ownership, actually the enforcement order would transfer over to the new ownership, and they would need to come into compliance with any enforcement order that was issued by the Conservation Commission. Obviously, like we stated, in this instance, there was no enforcement order because there was no reported violation. So, yes, part of our approval process here will be looking into that. And we will be looking at the old filing and seeing what the orders of conditions were pertaining to 299 Maple Street.
But you would recognize that there was probably no complaints filed because the area is relatively remote unless you're living on the property or have trespassed on the property.
Pardon me with that again? I'm sorry?
So from Maple Street, the wetland would be very difficult to have seen before the trees were cleared, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you wouldn't necessarily expect a complaint to have been filed because no one has access to that land, perhaps unable to see it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, like I said, we rely on the public, and the commission does it when we drive around and do site visits and are riding around town, and if we see violations, we look at them and, issue enforcement orders or ask for an enforcement letter, to be sent out if it's not a real serious violation, but yes, that is part of our task. Any other questions or comments from the public? I'll bring it back to the board right now.
I'm good. I don't have any questions.
The only question, do you know the name of the owner of the property in 1988?
I don't. It was the gentleman or the people I've been dealing with, it was before them, so I do not.
You want, I can go find it for you. I know what it is.
Property cards have all the previous
Yeah,
owners.
I'll have to go
Look that
back.
up.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, the original permit probably has an order of conditions, I don't say stable to it, but because he told me he had to deal with conservation issues, or let me rephrase that. He told me the previous owner had to deal with conservation issues when the house was built. That's what he told me. I have nothing to back it up, but that is what was explained to me.
So there
Yeah.
probably was a dirt driveway prior to the gravel being,
I would assume so,
It's
yeah.
just dirt, yeah.
Wasn't there an
Mr.
existing
Rochillo
house on
said
that
it,
property?
yeah.
Wasn't there an existing house way back there?
Yes. He was one, yeah.
Okay, that was a dirt driveway. Could hardly even see the driveway.
Yeah, he was,
Right.
the owner, when this Carabetta bought it, he was a nephew live in the back. After they knock it down, because he was, they knock it down, and they put it in the house. when he bought it.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it would in essence be grandfathered. Not
Yes.
that really matters, but it would be grandfathered.
Yes, the house definitely would be, yeah.
Correct.
I did ask Jeff, because he's much better and faster and more familiar with it than I am, to actually go to the Registry of Deeds and look up an old filing.
And I went back, but I did, a lot of it depends on under names and so forth, and I went back as far as I could go back. And I did not find any attachments or restrictions pertaining to the Conservation Commission on any of the previous deed filings for the property.
Well, and if it was grandfathered, there wouldn't be any.
Yeah.
Correct.
That would make sense.
As I stated previously, the new paved road, which, am I correct in assuming there will be curbs on it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, do you have the engineering drawings for the new road?
Yeah.
You know, everything shows the pitch going, obviously to the other side, which will catch off the drainage. So yeah, everything will be going away from that now.
Right, and so what I was getting to with that, is the new paved road with curbs There will be storm drains, and there is a stormwater management system proposed in the plan. We do not approve the stormwater management with the retention basin. There is an outflow that goes adjacent to the wetland. The outflow is only an emergency outflow for the 100-year storm. That is something that gets approved by the planning board and the DPW. The way things are in East Long Meadow, that is not our purview right now. However, with the stormwater management system that doesn't exist on 299 Maple Street, there will be one there now. So, in my opinion, the impact on the wetland will be reduced, and that is the part of the design of the stormwater management system, so that there is no impact on the wetland. Whereas right now, I can see how there can be some runoff in there. It does concern me about a potential violation in the past, even though there was not one issued. It is something that I would say we need to research and see if we can find this old file. Just so you know, Bethany, there has been a lot of changes and movement of files and that sort of thing at the town hall, so we have had a little bit difficulty in locating files that are more than 10 years old. So it might be a bit of a challenge, but if we could see what we can do to locate that. In the meantime, we will check again on the Registry of Deeds for something older. I think you got back as far as 2002.
Went back further than that. I think the original property was sold back in 1934, but there were very few records.
Mhm.
Do we know when the house was built? Were you able to track that
I
down?
couldn't find when the
Okay.
original house was built.
I would be curious. I'm assuming the two would coincide if it was not in fact grandfathered.
Yeah.
If it was grandfathered, then more than likely nothing was done.
I know the name Nathan Bill came up and a couple others.
Okay,
And part of the property was sold to the city of Springfield for the golf course.
okay, yeah, I was not
So-
aware of any of that.
Yeah.
And
The house that he paid, $5,000, the house he bought, Maple Street. That's what, the old man, when he bought it, father-in-law, he bought the house.
For $5,000?
5,000.
I wish it
Like
was that
80
easy.
80
You
years.
good deal.
got a good deal.
5,000, yeah, that's what,
I wish that's all I
70
could.
years ago, 80 years ago.
Yeah,
That's what-
yeah.
Mike, you got two.
He give it a piece of land to build the road, he give it to the nephew, a piece of land in the back where the other house he bought. That's it,
I should buy a house for $5,000.
Crush cane by a tool shed.
What's that, Craig?
Well, in today's dollars, that'd be a lot more.
according to the plans I'm looking at here, what you have proposed, Mr. Carabetta, it's about a 40-foot distance from the wetland to the limit of work line?
Yeah, I think that's the right of way, but I think the asphalt's
Right.
gonna be
Mhm.
12 feet less than that, so you'd probably be at 36 feet encroachment with the actual asphalt, whereas a right of way would still go more, but that would, in essence, a town would own that land if they wanted to put utilities or something like that. It's a 50-foot right of way, 24 feet of which will be paved, which is right down the middle.
So then, it appears to me that the right-of-way and the road, it looks like our minimal distance away from the resource area is 25 feet. But then on the other side, the lots 1 through 4 and a bit of the retention basin are inside the 100-foot buffer zone. But the most of intrusion into the buffer zone looks to me to be lot number 2 when it's only about 10 feet.
Yeah, I would almost disagree. I think only the road encroaches on the buffer zone. I don't think the building lots do. Because lot 2 is up by Maple Street.
Correct.
That's why I'm,
Looks like maybe lot 4.
4.
Maybe a little bit
Okay.
of lot
okay, yeah,
4.
that, I would have said 4 or 5. If anything, it's gotta be 2 or 3 feet if I had to guess, but that's on the other side of the road, which is the furthest away from the intrusion into the buffer zone.
Correct.
And actually, the retention pond is actually
Before.
right there.
Yeah, part of the retention is in the 100-foot buffer zone, and yes, a corner, lot 4 there too.
Okay, forgive me, I don't have the plan in front of me, I'm kind of doing it from memory.
Yeah, it's almost minimal.
Right, but then extends right there
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So lot 2 is in there a little
Mike,
bit.
Mike,
Only about 10
No, that's
feet.
right, I think we're on the
Oh,
same
yeah,
page.
'cause there's another little wetland, there's another isolated.
Yeah, smaller, so.
Yeah.
Correct. Um, Any other questions or comments from the board?
No, I'm good.
There's, the previous violation concerned me a little. So something the board could consider would be continuing this hearing until our next meeting so we could research the violation. However, in my opinion,
It's gonna rectify it anyways. right?
yeah,
I mean,
I'm
it's
thinking
gonna
we're going
rectify it
to, the
anyways.
condition is going to be rectified
Right,
with the new plan, so,
so I think there's no reason to.
yeah, in my opinion, I don't see a requirement for it, and I don't know that it's gonna accomplish anything
And-
that's not gonna be accomplished
It's gonna be resolved.
when this work gets done.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the board? I'll bring it back to the public one more time.
I have one question. It looks like there's gonna be as you say, a retention basin.
Yes,
And that looks like it's gonna be in between, I think, lot 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, somewhere there.
4 and 5, yes,
So
sir.
basically, about my eastern side of my entire yard.
Mm-hmm.
We already have a retention basin at the end of Lassard Circle, which abuts mine and my neighbor over here's. So there's gonna be one hole in our street on one side of my yard, and then another hole is what we refer to as a hole, because it's just basically a hole that retains water.
Correct.
Right on the other side of that, where that drainage easement is,
Mhm.
even if you look at your plan, you'll see 26 and 29 Lassard, looks like, so there'll be a gap there with another hole.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct in assuming that? Because I looked at the plans in town hall, and that's what it looked like to me.
Yes.
Yeah, it made the most sense to put it there.
Okay.
Keep the
so-
two areas close to each other.
They're both the low point.
They're both a low point, right,
Right.
for
Yeah,
yours.
well, it was
for
full of
yours
water
and-
the other day.
Right, for yours and for mine.
We have a stream that goes through our backyard, so.
So I don't want to say incorporate some of your runoff, but I will inherit some of your runoff. So the retention pond was designed there for two reasons. One, to keep it away from the golf course lots, to keep it close to what's already there. By acquiring the property next door, it actually pulls the road away from your house and the people next to you. So it gave us the ability to move the retention pond that we thought was going to be a better area, try to make the neighborhood more appealing to everybody.
Yeah, but it'll give them better, bigger backyards as
Correct, it
well.
pulls the houses away from yours.
Pulls them that way, so they're over there, I understand that part of it.
Well, the original plan was put the road on the other side, because I didn't want to deal with the conservation, but.
Which, in that case, I would have already sold my house.
Right, so this is.
Like our next door neighbors did.
Right, this is trying to find a happy medium. If I put the road on the other side, I deal with conservation, but it pulls the houses away from you and your neighbors.
Beth had a copy of it, just so everybody knows though, the stormwater management plan that is submitted for this is an extensive document, that had a copy of it. You know, it's something that's 1.5 inches thick and
I looked through
it's
it.
fairly extensive, the amount of work that's required. And obviously, like I said, that is not our purview to approve that, that goes to the DPW and the planning board for their approval of that. And the next step in the process, after dealing with us, would be for the applicant to go to the planning board. Anything else from the public? Bring it back to the board and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
As I've stated, based on the site visit and the plans and how I believe gonna lessen any potential impact on the wetland, I will entertain a motion to approve the notice of intent as submitted.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good luck, Michael.
All right, thank you very much.
Hi, Michael.
You guys look like you were cold out there Saturday.
It got a lot
Through
colder.
my picture window, I could see you all standing out there.
My feet were cold after the site visits we went to after that
Let's get
one.
that water.
Okay, item number 2 on our agenda is lot number 16 for Hidden Ponds.
Okay, East Long Meadow Conservation Commission, public hearing. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, East Long Meadow Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on February 13, 2019 at 6 p.m. in the East Long Meadow School Committee Conference Room, back entrance of North End Street at East Long Meadow High School, 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. To consider the following. Case number NOI 2019-03, notice of intent, lot 16, Hidden Ponds Estate, assessor's parcel ID 23-77-0, filed by Al Joyce Redstone Ponds LLC, P.O. Box 79, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028, for a single-family home project within a buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. Case number 2019-04, notice of intent. You want me to go 17, all of them?
Pardon me?
Do you want me to read all of them?
We do them separately.
Yeah, we just have to do them separately.
All right. And,
That'll be good.
yeah. Additional information relating to this request is on file with the commission and available to the public for review. For the commission, Craig Jordanstrom.
Thank you. Mr. Joyce,
Yes.
good evening. We are starting with lot 16.
On previous hearings, the wetland line was determined, so I think that primarily here we're looking at where the limit of work will be. And if you look at the filing, I've made a case that this was a pre-existing site. The wetlands are lands that are underwater. It's actually rock that's underwater from the result of a quarry operation that actually began in the 1880s and extended through around 1920 and then resumed again in 1960 and 1965. And prior to that, it was used as a town swimming, not a town-owned, but as a town-wide swimming site. There's if you look at the plan, if you look at some of the pictures, you can see the activities that have occurred. So I guess this is kind of simple. I'm just opening up to any questions that the board may have on our filing.
What we had done about 6 months ago was we approved a notice of intent, which essentially allowed for the construction of the access roads in 2 different positions, in 2 different places. There's 2 different roads being, actually one's being extended and one of them is a new road to be paved for the subdivision. As a part of that notice of intent, there was a buffer zone established for some wetlands. There was also a buffer zone that we needed to actually show, but we didn't. There was a little bit of riverfront impact in one of the corners. However, that doesn't apply to these 3 filings here. The buffer zone that we're working with now, and as Mr. Joyce stated, it's land underwater, which is essentially a little bit different, but a lot of the same regulations apply. The bank of the water is actually where the 100-foot buffer zone starts. And then, so again, that is the area that we have jurisdiction over. We have received the plans and that sort of thing, so at this time for lot number 6, and again, it's wetlands issues, not traffic or other issues, so at this time I'd like to open it up to the public for comments.
Just before that, if I could, you did ask, when we're on the site, you asked that I come up with a plan that shows all 3 lots. And that's what I've got that, if it's okay for me to
Yeah.
hand that out, because it was a little confusing seeing how the 3 lots, there's a plan showing the lots with the proposed limit lines, and then there's the plan, on the second page, there's plans showing the current conditions. Maybe you just.
Yeah, I will. Thank you, sir. If we could, it would be good for in the future if we could get these shown on the entire master plan. That, you know, that would be the same scale as the previously approved notice of intent,
Okay,
you know.
because I'm gonna be back here, obviously.
Yes, but yeah, we don't necessarily.
And I did bring the master plan, I did bring me the full set of construction plans if the commission wants to take a look at anything.
Okay. So at this time, I'd like to open it up to the public for comments or questions.
I was just looking to see where exactly the sites are. You know, I was just trying to
Yeah,
look on
these
the map.
sites are the ones pretty much closest to the entrance off of Redstone. Lot number 17 is the one with the existing house.
Okay,
16 would be to the left of it, and 18 would be to the right of it.
okay, thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the public? No?
Does the Conservation Committee only concern itself with wetlands? Do you care about trees or?
Not under our,
It's not
Well,
under your jurisdiction?
Activity within the buffer zone. Activity in the buffer zone
So it's only
includes removal of
wetland buffer
trees
zone.
and shrubs and that sort of thing.
Okay,
Yes.
it's just pretty sad to see.
Mhm.
Very sad.
At this time, I'll bring it back to the board for questions or comments. I guess I'll start. Frankly, I have an issue with the limit of work line being at the bank. What definitely does impact the resource area, which is the land underwater, would be the removal of trees and vegetation going all the way up to the edge of the land underwater.
Which
The-
lot? Are you talking about 17?
16.
We're on 16, yes.
Okay.
Removal of the trees and vegetation does allow some more silt and that sort of thing to flow into the water. What it also means, if we had the limit of work line there, people could actually plant grass all the way up to the edge of the water. The applications of herbicides and fertilizer, that close to the resource area definitely does have an impact. And so in my opinion, we need to see some, I'd like to see at least a 25-foot buffer zone all the way around this.
I agree.
Some of the area is developed already and there isn't a lot of growth, but if we cut down all the trees and remove all the vegetation, we're removing some shade from the water, which definitely affects breeding habitat for the wildlife, and that is one of the things that we're charged with protecting, the wildlife that is actually in the water. And silt moving in there, even though it is primarily a rocky bed, if some of the nooks and crannies and the rocks get filled up with silt, it kind of reduces a hiding place for the small fish where they hide from the bigger fish. So long-term, in my opinion, this can have an effect. So I would like to see at least a 25-foot buffer zone all the way around.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think when you have, you know, this is a body of water that does not have a river flowing into it or out of it. And just like what you said, Craig, that there's, if you have your limit of work line right at the edge, that means you'll have herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, runoff going right into that body of water. And that's just gonna create algae and all, and have a negative effect on any wildlife. So I wouldn't be supportive of a limit of work line right at the water's edge at all.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'll bring it back to the audience. I saw someone put a hand up. No? Okay. Your thoughts, Al?
I can, on this lot, I can certainly understand the 25-foot limit of work line, and I'm happy with that. I'm hoping for when we get to the next one, it's a little bit different situation, if that could be looked at separately than the others.
Mhm.
I think 25 foot is gonna be right at the door to your house.
Right.
And I didn't envision cutting any trees down within that
Mhm.
area. I just want, as long as, and people still will have access to the water, they just won't be able to alter it, and that's fine, because I think it would look, it wouldn't look attractive if people did all of a sudden clear cut right to the water.
Mm.
That's not a look that I would be in favor of. So I'm happy with a 25-foot buffer.
Okay, yeah, based on the way the application and the notice of intent is written, if we approved it, everything could be cleared out to the
Yes.
edge of the water.
Right, and then, we can't open ourselves to that because we
Right,
had
because
before,
they're-
and
right.
it came back to get us.
Yeah, because there's a lot of other, lots that do abut the land underwater, as well as other wetlands and that sort of thing. So I guess I will entertain a motion to continue this to our March meeting. I don't have the date off the top of my head, for a revised plan showing a 25-foot buffer zone.
So moved.
Close the public hearing first.
Oh, no, we continue it, don't
Oh,
close it.
that's right. Yeah,
Yep.
sorry, yeah.
Trying to catch me?
No. Answer myself.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to lot number 17. You've got the floor again, Jeff.
Okay, East Long Meadow Conservation Commission, public hearing in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The East Long Meadow Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on February 13th, 2019, at 6 p.m. in the East Long Meadow School Committee Conference Room, back entrance off North End Street at East Long Meadow High School, 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. To consider the following. Just get it. Case number NOI 2019-04, notice of intent, lot 17, Hidden Ponds Estates, assessors parcel ID 23-77-0, filed by Al Joyce Redstone Ponds LLC, P.O. Box 79, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028, for a single-family home within the buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. Additional information relating to this request is on file with the commission and available to the public for review. For the commission, Craig Jurgensen.
Thank you. Pretty much the same conditions apply to this as the last filing, but once again, I will open it up to the public for comments.
This is Janice Bareilles, I'm from Redstone Drive. Just a quick question, if you set that 25-foot buffer, does it stay, like, you have to abide by that? So whoever buys that lot or that house has to also abide by
Yes.
Yes.
those rules?
Yep.
It goes in perpetuity forward.
Yes, it is actually a notation that's recorded at the Registry of Deeds, and it has to be put into the deed of the house.
Is there permanent markers that were in the plan for the limit of work line?
There
No,
wasn't.
we did not show markers.
Right.
Would you, what would you like for markers on the plan?
Well, I just don't know that if you sell these properties, then
Yeah.
the owners are just may very well just start mowing all the way to the edge if there's, no permanent markers letting them know this is, where it stands. And I think we've even had other issues where maybe there weren't permanent markers, and then, years later, people are extending the work closer and closer to the wetland.
Should we have them put monuments in?
There's gonna have to be some sort of grant.
Yeah, we've approved different types of permanent markers. Some have
Okay.
been a steel rod, 3 or 4 inch round concrete post that sticks up a
Okay.
few inches out of the ground, or 4-inch ones.
I'll include that on the plans.
Yes.
And if I may, this is one I'm hoping that, with how close the existing house is to the bank, I think when the people, the members of the commission notice that there is a diving board that's in use, there's also a cement pier that's in use. On this one, if you see where I've got a proposed fence, I'm wondering if the commission would be okay with making the proposed fence the limit of work line.
So it's right down to the wetlands on the right side there.
Correct.
Isn't installing a fence, though, would be an allowable, isn't that an allowable project?
Beyond the limit of work line? No.
No?
Everything has to be behind the
Yeah.
line.
There, vista pruning and that type of thing, it is allowed beyond the permanent work markers, but installation of a fence, it could be something that the commission would approve if the future homeowner comes in and applies for it. But technically, starting out, no.
Al, how far off the water is that proposed fence? Do you
Uh,
think? Or is it 15 feet off the wall? I see it on the right side, but in general,
It's very close. It's probably about, but that house has been there since 1940s. That's been used right up to the bank
right.
for forever. And to actually putting where the fence is actually reducing the amount of use. And this would be the only one that would be like that, just because of, mainly because you couldn't get out of you need to be able to get out of your home.
Right.
And this is where we would need to see this on the master plan, because I don't know if this can't be a scalable drawing. This 1 inch definitely does not equal 40 feet, as it says.
Yeah, that's it. That's a scale drawing.
It can't be. Well, anyway, yeah, 1 inch equals 40 feet. And it can't be, because if 1 inch equals 40 feet, it looks like the house is about 50 feet away from the water. And it's definitely not.
Maybe 1 inch was 40 feet, and then they
On the master.
enlarged the.
Yeah, this is.
plan.
This is,
enlarged
I've
on the-
got,
on the
this is,
Master plan, it would be shown differently. The master plan is probably scaled 1 inch equals 40 feet, but yeah, this is definitely not a scale drawing, or not to 1 inch equals 40 feet.
Yeah, it's sealed. It's sealed.
if you look, the distance from here to here would be is the same as the distance from here to here.
I don't think I have my scale with me.
I usually.
Al, what's the distance?
It's about,
I don't.
it's exactly the distance from here to there. Yeah, that's exactly the same. Oh, you've got a scale, all right, that'll shut me up.
So according to this, it's about 30 feet.
Yeah, about 3/4 of an inch.
And it should be the same on that, I mean, they're
Yes,
the same
yeah.
scale.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, my eyes aren't that good at eyeballing.
No, I know,
guess.
and you know what I think is throwing you off? I think it's my line coming down here
Yeah.
and the proposed, this is a proposed deck. I think that's making everything look a little funky.
So then, just for the record, by scaling it, the location of the fence is 9 to 10 feet away from the edge of the resource area or bank. Frankly, I'm not real comfortable with that either.
No,
No,
I agree. Even if you were to take the deck away and come back further, now you're gonna be up against the back of the house.
Hmm.
Right.
I know there's an existing house.
Isn't half that house
Here.
on the side of the hill?
yes.
Yeah, one's up, one's down.
I'd like to see, you know, at least a 20-foot limit of work area, you know, and we can't follow the line of the fence as it is shown, where it goes right up to the resource area on the right-hand side of the drawing. So I guess you've heard our concerns. Revise your plan and you know, we can come back and
Well, at this
discuss it
point, I
again,
think you're
but-
requiring that we demolish the house. Because you're making it so we can't even walk out of the house. I mean, that's a house that's been there for,
Yeah. If
the
we-
house has been there for 80 years.
Yes, and the
there's a
house
diet-
itself is grandfathered, which is approximately 30 feet away.
All
Or
right.
not to decorate the addition. Right, yeah, right.
The addition is not, no. In my opinion, I'd like to see something plus or minus 20 feet in that area, which still gives 10 feet or so, plus or minus, from the house. But you can come back and propose as you wish.
Well, no, I don't waste time.
Yeah.
I listen, I'll, okay.
Any other comments from the public? Bring it back to the board. Any other comments?
No, I'm good with
I'll entertain a motion to continue this to our March meeting
so moved.
for a revised drawing.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
On to number 18.
East Long Meadow Conservation Commission, public hearing. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the East Long Meadow Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting on February 13th, 2019 at 6 p.m. in the East Long Meadow School Committee Conference Room, back entrance off North End Street, at East Long Meadow High School, 180 Maple Street, East Long Meadow, Mass, to consider the following. Case number NOI 2019-05, notice of intent, lot 18, Hidden Ponds Estate, assessor's parcel ID 2377-77-0, filed by Al Joyce, Redstone Ponds LLC, P.O. Box 79, East Long Meadow, Mass. 01028, for a single-family home project within a buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland. Prepared by Al Joyce, Redstone Ponds LLC, P.O. Box 79, East Long Meadow, Mass. Additional information relating to this request is on file with the commission and available to the public for review. For the commission, Craig Jernstrom.
At this time, I will open it up to the public for questions or comments. Hearing none, now I'll bring it back to the board.
Craig? Fencing is considered an exempt minor activity as long as it does not create a barrier to wildlife movement. thought I read that somewhere. I don't know what we would consider a barrier.
And I guess it would depend on the type of fencing
Right.
that would be installed. I guess for the most part, I think we should just be continuing this with the same thing with the 25-foot buffer zone.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to continue to our March meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All righty. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, I appreciate everyone's consideration. What is it, your March meeting, if you,
I
anyone
was just
knows?
looking for that in here.
Be the second Tuesday, right?
Second Tuesday in March.
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
excuse me. Wednesday.
Thank you, everyone.
All right,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Al.
Pardon? We're done with the public stuff, so.
Everyone have a good night.
Bye.
Seeing you.
See you, Will, thanks.
See you later.
It's a little deadline and meeting schedule. I don't know how it's not showing up.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what she's doing.
How old is he?
I think we're fine. Oh, here it is.
Oh my God.
Meeting is, March 13th.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could note that in the file for all three of them, they're continued to March 13th. They do need to be date specific. Next item on the agenda was review and comments for the planning board. Did Connie give you anything for us requiring a comment for tonight?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they had any filings at their last meeting.
No, they didn't.
Next item was a report by Tom O'Brien regarding the vegetation management plan hearing. Not sure if he went, he said he was going to, but we'll catch up with that at the next meeting. Submission of the 2018 town report. That was done. I hope everybody got a chance to review it.
I read that, it looked good.
Yep, yeah, that was, it was turned in. The next item on the agenda is the correspondence from Attorney Martin regarding the lot off of Parker Street. It did come up at the last planning board meeting. They voted to recommend not to purchase it. Essentially what it is, it's the Blueberry Farm.
Yeah.
You're on Parker Street. It's a lot on the left-hand side. I did speak to George Kingston about it, and he didn't talk about it at the planning board meeting, but the way it is shown, with the proposed lot that's for sale, that's for $85,000, I believe it is, and we have the right of refusal because it is a Chapter 61A property. But if the sale goes through with that lot, the remaining portion of the frontage does not allow for the building of a street that would be wide enough and meet the current town bylaw and code requirements. So it virtually renders the back of the property undevelopable unless they acquired the property to the right-hand side, which would allow them to get a road to go back into the subdivision. The plans show in the back corner that there is some town of East Long Meadow owned property that abuts this, just in the very back corner on one side. It is not on the bottom or on this. This is also privately held. It is a nice piece of property. Essentially, it's the Blueberry Farm.
Yeah.
So it might be something that we could consider in the future because it is something we have for right of first refusal, because it is Chapter 61 agricultural use.
What is the acreage of that? Do you know?
This says almost 33 acres total.
Wow.
So sizable parcel.
Yeah. That would be something, because of the size of it, that we would be interested in. I actually passed them out at the last conservation meeting, and I did email it today. It's something that I think we should look at in the future. It's the Conservation Commission policy on accepting land donations. Similar would apply to lands that we would purchase, or want to work and get CPC matching funds or funds from the state. If it is a piece of property we would like to acquire. Hidden ponds, it would be a perfect example. I know Community Preservation talked about it a few years ago, but it was just too expensive. But that was not a Chapter 61 property, so it was a little bit pricier of a parcel, as much as I would have loved it to have the town own that. That's a 26-acre parcel, I believe it is. So I guess it's something we could just look at and maybe keep in mind for the future, because this document was dated in '97. It also lists some key conservation resource areas in the town, some of which might have changed a little bit, and I know a few pieces of property have been acquired since this document was done. So it is something we should keep in mind for the future, and maybe looking at revising this document. But at this time, in my opinion, I don't see the need. I think I would recommend that we send a letter to the town council saying that we do not believe that the town should purchase this piece of property.
Yeah.
I have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Project monitoring. Bella Vista. Do you have the enforcement order for that, Bethany? We did the site visit, we came out with a number of conditions, some emails went back and forth. I believe it's all set as far as I was concerned, but essentially we need to ratify it. Oh, here it is. Oh no, that's not it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I'm Brian Fitzgerald, and I'm the trustee of the trust that recently just purchased the balance of the 17 lots on Bella Vista Estates. And with me is Anthony Carnavale from AC Home Building, who will be the general contractor on
Okay.
part of the subdivision. So,
Perfect.
is it okay?
Please come forward.
Come forward? Okay, thank you.
Do we have that order, Bethany, or?
I do not.
Okay. I can pull it up in some emails.
We have one copy.
Essentially, I can verbally go over it with some of the things that are in the enforcement order. You haven't received a copy of it yet, correct?
No, we have a letter from
From the director.
from the
yeah.
director, just
Mhm.
indicating that there was an enforcement order that was going to be issued, and then also, in addition to that, some items that needed to be done. So I think we just wanted to give you an update in terms of what's transpired since
Please do.
January 31st. So, Anthony, do you want to?
So we, and we know a little bit of the history, but we don't have all the history. So you may be, or commission here can correct anything that I say that's wrong. But when we got involved, about a month ago or so, it was our understanding that Attorney Pacella and actually Al met, and they kind of gave him the green light to go forward and start building the roadway. I took that cue as it's somebody contacted conservation, went in there and cut phase 2 and cut the trees, and then had their wattles up and silt fence up along the wetland crossing, and it was done right. I contacted Smith and Associates, who gave me their field notes and set all the stakes to the work limits on the plan. I walked out to them, and the stakes are all in there still, and I got their field notes here. And I made you guys one copy, but pass it along, of, the limit of work was marked out on phase, we're gonna call phase two, I guess, lots 9 through 25. And I walked all of it and checked it all, and all the stakes are still in the ground that Smith Surveyors put in. And it says work limit, and there's wattles all along. And I noticed on the, I guess, south side, the silt fence was a little damaged, so I actually had Billy Skinner go in there and put some straw up against it and restake that section. And that's kind of where I'm at tonight. I don't know, I saw the letter from Connie to me, but at that point, my, Munson Savings Bank contacted Connie. She said there was no issues. So the financing went through with the trust. And tell us.
Yeah. Craig, this is all related to the pictures and stuff, right?
To the what?
To the pictures and stuff that went around?
Yes. Primarily the older pictures.
Right.
When we went out there, we weren't as concerned because there really isn't a resource area behind the lot that would be on the left on the way in, the third or fourth house on the left. We did have some pictures of that because the silt fencing was all down and trampled over there. It's a lot that's just recently been excavated and
Okay,
dug
we
up.
don't own,
Yeah.
And that's a Pecoy issue.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, so,
But-
when you're talking about
Right,
Capri
okay.
Drive,
So,
those
Yeah.
13 lots off of there and Amalfi
That's the
Drive,
Pecoy, right.
or Amalfi Circle, that's
right,
owned by Pecoy.
but.
Bella Vista Drive, the 17 lots off of Bella Vista Drive
Right.
is what we've purchased, so.
So essentially where this starts is at the end of the
End
pavement.
of that development, yeah, we
Right.
saw where the crossing was.
Right, and it's essentially the main violation with the wetlands crossing, there's several of them, a couple that would pertain to that. First off, nothing was done as far as a temporary bridge or anything to actually cross the wetland. I did recently email some pictures to Connie for that were old. I had taken them a couple years ago.
Okay.
For whatever reason, the board did not act upon them at that time, but essentially, the wetland was filled in with bark mulch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the equipment that did the clearing of the trees and everything in there was just driving right over the wetland.
Now, I saw that as well, and then I went to the notice of intent, I went obviously to the plan, and if you look at page 5, my assumption is, or was, so on lot 9 where they had the silt fence here, Mr. Chairman, so in the silt fence that was damaged, that's repaired now. Oh, you have the plan there?
Yes.
So we go to page 5. And if you,
I must have a different page 5, this is what I have.
oh,
It's
Yeah.
labeled the sediment and erosion control plan.
Correct, okay, I got that one now. That's my page 4.
you're page 4 on page 5,
Okay.
I noticed where the crossing is, the silt fence on lot 9 was in place, and then the wattles on the lot 25 were in place. My assumption is, and you can clarify it so we know, is the water and sewer, prior to putting the bridge in, you've got to put the water and sewer line in and test it for pressure and leaks. And then when you put the bridge in, it's gonna be about 14-foot span.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to excavate down, stone it, put the footings in, and then that may take a day or two, and then the bridge comes precast, bridge, we'll have a crane there and get it in. I didn't see anything that,
What we would typically see in something like that would be the temporary bridge with the heavy 12 by 12 timbers, or I've even
Okay.
seen, it could be a pre-made steel one that would actually get dropped over, because the wetland in this area is only about 5 or 6 feet wide.
correct.
So some sort of crossing measures could have been taken as opposed to just driving right through it.
Okay.
The-
We could, and with the, I assume, and I wasn't there a year or two, whenever they cleared, they put the center line in, because I did ask Mike Smith, did you put yes, we put the center line in, we put it, so, I assume, just from being in the development side, is Rocky Mountain staged everything at the end of the cul-de-sac, they put their chipper there, and that's how the chips ended up in between the two sediment barriers, which I thought, and I think, that could be easily raked out, and some type of temporary,
And I sent some
Bridge.
pictures out. You could tell that essentially they were just spread over that entire area. It wasn't just flying out of the chipper. It was just spread over an area that would be too large.
Okay.
Unless they kept moving the chipper around.
well, I know when I say chipper, and I was,
Yeah.
about 15 years ago, Rocky Mountain showed up to one of our other developments, and they have this track machine chipper. It weighs like 20 ton, and you can put a big tree in it, chip, so it kind of spills everywhere. But I did see that, and I think we can easily clean that out, have it hand raked out, and get some type of temporary
Yeah.
bridging of some
Crossing.
sort to satisfy what we have going on, quote unquote, phase two here. And as so far as the rest, again, like Attorney Fitzgerald said, we're not part of, we don't own that, so the trust doesn't own that.
Mhm.
We're not involved. Our plan is, in the next couple weeks, we hired Associated Wreckers. Because the red home needs to come down. I know I gave the fire department the rights to go in there and use it. They're gonna use it to practice, fires and how to put them out. So I don't think that has any impact on any wetland issues there. And taking it down doesn't. So I would ask that we can continue to work on this and get a bridge in place here, a temporary bridge of some sort in place. But I think the crossing and the work's gonna be limited there. In fact, I'm thinking of putting up, I gotta check with the fire department, to make sure they don't mind some jerked barriers there, so people will just drive up and over the berm and think, well, hey, I got a four-wheel car, let me just drive through. So, I don't see them having an issue because the roads right now aren't connected. And again, the work in that area, I know it's very sensitive because it's right in this resource area. Our plan is get the bridge made and then excavate the footings, get them in place, and then have a crane there and they put it in place, and then we want to seed the area and get it stabilized as soon as possible here, so we don't have ongoing issues and back in front of this board, and everyone's kind of happy.
I'm gonna bring this over and show it to you. I know it's just a little hard to see because it's just a picture on my laptop. But one of the other issues with that little wetlands crossing is this silt fence shouldn't be there because it's kind of impeding. The water does flow a little bit in that direction.
Right.
But it's kind of cutting right across the wetland that continues down on the other side of the fence. You know, it's right here. This black silt fence is right here.
No, it's over here. It's on this side.
Correct, yes, I'm sorry, yeah, it's on that side. I mean, it does continue down, but, all right, if there was an area of concern, it just appeared like it shouldn't be there, because there is a lot of water on this side back here.
But the flow
Yeah, it kinda comes this way.
Yeah, but if you follow, comes this, I mean,
Okay.
we could take it out, and put
Yeah, but, okay.
wattles.
All right, well,
But-
we can take a look at it again, but essentially what you can see here too, how the whole thing was just covered with bark mulch.
Right, no, yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought, what I thought, and again, we're post, hey, nice plate.
Thank you. Royal Jochi.
We're post a couple years, I thought, well, they got a wattle on this side, they got a silt fence on this side,
Yeah.
and it's kinda, everyone kinda realizes you're gonna be working in that area, so maybe they left the wood chips there, it's the best I could come up with, but we
They
could
just
certainly
showed
get
up
them
one
raked
day.
out.
Essentially, they did. I've been monitoring the project for years, you know,
Okay.
I think it was originally filed about 10 years ago.
Right,
And there has been a number of issues out there
okay,
in the past, and I do have permission and access to some land to hunt right near there, so convenient for me to stop by, and
sure,
I just kind of inherited it as a part of our project monitoring program.
okay.
I believe one of the other items that would be coming that might have been mentioned in Connie's letter was a reflagging.
Right, well, that's what Mike Smith
Yeah.
did,
Bill that you,
right, that's why
yeah.
I got that, because it shows, that's where the wattles are,
2016.
and the stakes are still there, so,
Yeah, yeah. This was built in beginning, was a year, 2 years ago.
right. Correct.
Yeah, but we're talking about recent.
The actual flags hanging in the trees, the majority of them that were showing limits of work and that sort of thing, most of those were gone.
They,
Right.
but there's stakes in the ground that Mike Smith put in that is labeled
All right.
work limit, and as the lots, like the order, or the notice of intent says, as we sell off the lots and, stabilize the lawns, and the earth, we have to put in our permanent markers, and then Smith will have to come out, do us an as-built, and we'll have to get it to the commission, and you'll issue, I would assume, a compliance
Compliance, yeah.
letter,
Yeah.
and it'll get recorded. There's several lots that are stated in the notice of intent that we're gonna have to come back to. So, we don't have, the permanent markers will go in. We typically don't put them in at the beginning.
Okay.
We can, it doesn't matter, I guess.
Okay.
Um,
A lot of it was hard for us to see too, the last time we were there.
With the
We
snow,
did
I
go right
noticed.
after the snow, we were
Yeah,
there the day
everyone walked
after.
to the, but this, because I went the next day and I said, oh, boy, I had my sneakers on instead of boots, and I got all wet, but I made the walk to make sure that this part was up the right place, you know, and it is. And I checked with Mike, so,
It was a very cold morning we were out there.
yeah.
Yes, that one was too.
So I guess, we'd like to ask I think it's supposed to be kind of warm, or warming up next week, where things are gonna melt out, and we can have that hand raked out in between the two wattle areas.
Mhm.
You know, because they have horizontal, or which I guess horizontally to that, they had two sets of wattles coming in, we can hand rake all of that out. And you'd like to continue our portion. Right, is that the point? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have the enforcement order I thought was coming tonight for us to sign. So I'm assuming you're going to receive that
Okay,
in the next week or so. Connie's out till next Tuesday.
okay.
But we'll check, Bethany can check and let me know if that's something that, I know I could just come by and sign it, and then we could ratify it at our upcoming meeting, just to keep the process moving forward with it.
Yeah,
But,
it's not in the packet for tonight.
yeah, it's not there. But just so I'm clear, so you folks have nothing to do with phase one?
Correct.
Correct.
And that's the way
Okay.
we've defined it. The first 13 lots, which is Capri Drive and Amalfi Place,
Yeah.
are controlled, well, basically was the prior owner was Bella Vista Land Holdings.
Correct.
And Kent Pecoy Construction. So we've purchased the 17 lots that basically are on Bella Vista Drive. And, you know, we purchased that on February 5th, so.
And I guess that's where I'm a little confused. So you purchased it on February 5th of last year?
Of this year.
Of this year.
Of this year, yeah.
So then the clearing that was done in there, you said Rocky Mountain did that. Is that
Of
something?
phase two.
On phase two?
On phase
Well,
two.
yeah.
Is that something that Pecoy contracted for?
From what I can tell.
'Cause I
from the
believe it
paid-
was.
yeah, from the
It must
paid
have been.
bill.
Must have been, yeah.
Yeah.
He was the one who was
I
up.
mean, he paid Smith to put the
Mm-hmm.
work limit stakes in and put the wattles up. I would imagine he contracted with Rocky Mountain. I don't, but I can't represent that, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
We just wanna do, I mean, and there's a lot of interest too. I mean, we've received 4 offers for lots, and
Yeah.
one of the couples are here tonight because they're concerned. We wanna keep the ball rolling, so, whatever you want us to do, with the wood chips, we'll do.
Okay.
It's kind of important to not only Brian and the trust, me, and young families that wanna
Correct.
get into town.
It's,
Enjoy it.
it's not our intention to put a halt on the project.
Right,
We just need to get it brought up to compliance.
okay,
I think at this point, we'll get the enforcement order out,
okay,
but I would say we should definitely put you on our agenda
okay,
Okay.
for our March 13th meeting.
okay.
But between now and then, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea if we could, you know, schedule a site visit out there, and we can all kind of walk around and go over it and make sure we're clear on what we need to do to move forward.
Okay,
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, okay.
All right,
that
Great.
sounds fair.
okay.
Okay,
Sounds
thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda
This Howland.
was the Halon Terrace. There was a letter in
Okay.
here.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
This is not what we discussed.
Pardon me?
This is not what we said. This is asking them to come.
Oh,
And what we said
Yes.
was that just to send them to letter that there's things outside the limit of work that needs to be addressed and to repair the silt fence. Not to come
Okay.
to the meeting.
So this has not been sent, correct, Bethany? This letter for Halon Terrace was dated today, or tomorrow. Actually, it says February 14th on it.
No,
Okay.
I think Connie wanted you to draft a letter
Okay.
for them.
I was just gonna suggest that, Jeff, if you wouldn't mind doing that,
I can
since
do
you
that.
saw it.
I can
Yeah,
do
because I think we actually voted on it. I'm not sure. We might not have at our last
I
meeting.
wasn't here, so I
But-
don't know.
Yeah.
We said, no, we're not gonna send out a letter asking him to come to our meeting.
No, we clearly said
Right.
just to send a letter to them that there's some issues. I will draft a letter.
And there's another document in there that kind of said you could use as a template.
This,
Yes, that's it.
I'll draft the letter and get it to you tomorrow.
Yeah, the violations were relatively minor.
Did someone go out and visit it?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, remember Jeff reported it at our last meeting as a part of the project monitoring.
Part of the silt fence was down in the back, and you couldn't see on the side because they cut a bunch of small brush and piled it on the opposite
okay.
side of the
Right.
silt fence.
Right.
And there was a dirt pile that had been pushed up, so I couldn't tell if that was pushing the silt fence over or not.
Yes, I actually saw that today when I drove by. I was like, yeah, that's definitely on the other side of the silt fence.
Yeah,
Okay, so if you could draft that letter, that would be great.
yeah, I'll do that.
In regards to other project monitoring things, I went by Avery Street yesterday, I believe it was. He still hasn't started anything. Regarding Bedrock Financial or Rosebud for Hidden Ponds, The silt fence and everything was there and in place when we were out there on Saturday. However, I would like to get a copy of that drawing. I'd love to go out there and just paste that off and make sure all that's correct. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it when I walked in and saw how many trees were down.
Yeah.
If you go in, pretty much everything on the left-hand side is gone. It's very easy to see all those houses in my old neighborhood off of Harwich Street now.
Yep.
Yes, you can see them clear as a bell. There's not a tree there hardly. There's some left in the back on the other side of the silt fence. And also right at the end of Redstone Drive, he had done a fair amount of clearing in there too.
And he's taken all the trees, I think, in front of the new homes. The rest of the pine trees.
Yeah, and some of them, yep. Yeah, he had started. They were actually there working
Yeah.
today. I just took a drive in there, but yeah, they were actually out there
I don't-
doing tree work today.
I would think it would behoove him to leave some of those trees right along the street. I mean, I know he's gonna put a sidewalk in, but, you know, just to kind of give a little bit of buffer from the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I anticipate it's gonna happen similar to Avery Street, because some of those are very old growth pines and they're 125-foot high trees, and I'm sure it's gonna come up again where people are gonna say, I want that tree taken down so it doesn't fall on my house. So it's just something we need to be prepared to deal with. A couple of other ones I looked at, Benton Drive, silt fence was fine there, I just drove by that one.
Yeah.
And everything looked fine there. That was all I had for the project monitoring. Next item, I did send out an email, regrettably late, but I had a very busy week this past week working on conservation items. And I did email Bethany the changes. Did anybody get a chance to review the ones I sent out?
Yes.
Yeah,
On the minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other one that I wanted to add to that, and I'll just give you this copy, Bethany, was in regards to when Mark Stinson was speaking. It didn't make it in there, but Mark Stinson showed pictures of signs that other commissions are using at limit of work lines. He stated funds from our collected fees could be used to purchase signs, and that based on our quantity of filings, we should have $30,000 to $40,000 in our account. Chairman Jerkstrom stated he did not believe Concom had a separate account in the town budget. Town Manager Menard stated there was such an account. And that was the only one that I just added onto the sheet. So in regards to the January 9th meeting, did anybody else have any other amendments or corrections to that?
Is that for the January 9th one?
Yes.
Okay, so these won't be complete yet then.
Correct.
I think I added the amendments in there.
The only one that wouldn't be would be the one I
Oh,
just
right,
added
right,
for
right.
Mark Stinson.
So,
Jeff's around, he could swing by and sign it. I know did he get signed before it gets posted on the
yeah,
town
I have-
website?
Yeah, I have to sign it.
Yeah, okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the January 9th, 2019 minutes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
January 30th, I definitely haven't reviewed them. I don't think they were in our packet that we got.
No, they weren't.
They're just here for tonight.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to move approval of the January 30th minutes to our March 13th meeting.
So
So,
moved.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The last thing I had was I had a couple, actually three, I believe, items that I wanted I know we're not supposed to be going crazy discussing things that aren't on the agenda, but we can discuss administrative matters, but what I wanted to have is I had three items that I just wanted to make people aware of and put them on the agenda for our March 13th meeting. The first one was regarding our attendance letter and our case for 2 meetings per month. The letter went out on February 8th. We haven't seen a response to that. And in doing some research, I have no problem doing it. I made a mistake, and I'm going to say I was wrong. The DEP file number is when the clock starts ticking for a notice of intent, not when it's submitted. It's really not clear in the regulations in the manual, but Mark Stinson did confirm that to me. But The other thing we need to keep in mind, it differs with a request for determination. Upon the acceptance of an RDA, the 21-day clock is ticking. And just if we can all keep in mind something to think about is RDAs, half of them are for pools. When those come in, people want to put the pool in right away.
Yep.
If we're doing the 1-month meeting, sometimes they could wait up to 5 weeks before we hear them. So I just wanted to put that back on there. The next one was the Bella Vista email that I sent to everybody that pertained to the scheduling. And then there was also the information in there about the timeliness of our getting the information for the meetings. Because what I put in there is when I went into town on Monday to pick up the audio of the January 9th meetings, and this was a week and a half ago now. That was when I got the files for the 4 notices of intent that we had for this evening. I'm pretty sure everybody who didn't go to town hall and got them received them in the mail on Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
The issue I have with that is if I didn't go in there and see that, I would have got them in the mail on Thursday also. Definitely not enough time for us to schedule required site visits and that sort of thing. We would have had them come in and just had to continue the meeting. And what really concerns me is the fact that they were both in the office prior to our January 30th meeting. We could have easily been made aware of them or been handed a copy of the filings then. So I'm gonna have something about there with the timeliness of the information. And the other point that I wanted to make on that, at the last planning board meeting, it was also brought up about them not getting information in a timely enough fashion. So it is an issue that we need to continue to address. The next item I had that needs to go back on the agenda, it was on this one, but it was taken off. And a little bit of a concern to me too is the financials, that we were supposed to get that balance sheet. I requested that about a week or so prior to our January 30th meeting. It's supposed to be a separate account that exists, but we're in the 3+ weeks now and we still don't have that, so we definitely need to have that so we can keep moving forward with that for our next meeting. And that was all I had. I'm impressed we got through this meeting this quickly. Does anybody else have anything to add?
I'm good.
I'm all set.
All set?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.